Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Running to Write, where I normally give questionable writing advice through running metaphors, but I've since switched to doing these productivity sprints. So I hope you're ready to be productive on a Monday, because I'm feeling great. I had a wonderful weekend, got to hang out with family. Hello, Richard. Thank you for joining in. And yes, woo. Yeah, this was a good, relaxing weekend. I got to celebrate a bunch of different things with family and things that weren't related to me. So I'm not going into what they are. But yeah, they are all, my family's all doing well. And it was good to hang out with them. Got to go out for ice cream a couple of times over the weekend because, I'm a child apparently. Devin, hey, thank you for being here too. I know you got to run, and wow, congrats for your celebrating your 20th anniversary. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful night. I hope you do something to celebrate the momentous occasion. I'm a long way away from 20 years, but I'm definitely up there in numbers. So yeah. And of course, my lovely wife is here as well. So happy Monday. Yeah. The world is still here, which is nice. This, oof. So I was expecting to have a very difficult day at work, and everything kind of fell through. So I actually had some available time to troubleshoot a whole bunch of other issues. And then those also fell through. So I was kind of floundering around all day, which means I was able to divide my attentions accordingly. And because one thing fell through and then the second thing fell through the way that the first thing fell through, because the second thing fell through, I now have time to adjust to the first thing falling through, assuming issues get handled over the next few days. Otherwise, I'm screwed. So right now, as you're watching this, I am perfectly happy. I'm perfectly content. Work is going great. A week from now, everything, the shit might be hitting the fan. So yeah, awesome. We are all collectively postponing the train wrecks until next week. So good job. Thank you for work for holding out for another week, because coming up soon, I'll be on vacation. So if we can just hold out for a little bit longer, it'll be somebody else's problem entirely. And yeah, so honestly, the problems are kind of mine, because the problem is that it works on somebody else's computer. So somebody else, they'll, for those of you who work in the software development field, you very commonly hear, well, it works on my computer. That doesn't address the problem. So I have a whole bunch of theories for where the problems are. I have shared those issues, but I have no control to test those theories. And so I kind of need to wait for somebody with the right access to help troubleshoot. Yes, repeatedly, Richard. That is the very first thing I try. And it's worse when it's a virtual machine, because I have no control over most of the basic functions in a lot of the virtual machines that I go to, because they're client-owned devices, client-managed. And so all of like the troubleshooting techniques that I would use, and let's look up all the fun things, I can't do because I don't have admin access. So my hands are usually tied when it comes to troubleshooting, which means I need to just wait for things to happen. Yeah, that sucks. Sorry, Adriana's laptop died because she left it unplugged for the weekend. And I'm not going to comment on that, because she's the one who always tells me about battery management and turning devices off, and yet my devices are the ones that usually last longer. This thing right here, I feel like it was a pre-COVID buy. So I know I'm transitioning to a new laptop, and that's upstairs, and that one's working fine, and it's got all these fun features. I'm pretty certain that this laptop is also 8 years old, and if I left it alone for a weekend, it would not inherently die. But that's just me, because we bought our laptops at the exact same. Yeah, but you did buy yours first, but mine was bought within 6 months of the other. So unless this thing deteriorates significantly in 6 months, But anyways, we aren't here to discuss electronics and how long electronics can last over others. Not fair enough. That is true. This is at the time it was a reasonable mid-range gaming device. I think I got it for like 1,000, maybe 1,100. I don't know. Either way, it was pretty good at the time, and it has. I mean, most of my gaming is on Steam. Well, Steam can have some wonderful games, but like steaming of retro games. So all it has to really handle is PlayStation era games. I got my N64 emulator on there, and the most intensive thing I play on it is AOE over the internet connection. So there's that. And ooh, nice. Everybody's getting upgrades. I guess those laptops that you bought at the start of COVID have slowly started to die off, and so now we are in desperate need of replacements. And yes, AOE is fantastic. It's 20 years running. They keep coming out with new. Well, in 2017, maybe 18, they came out with a definitive edition. I wasn't playing at the time. This was a game that I played together with my friends at the start of COVID, and then I have since evolved from there. They apparently got wives and children and whatnot, so they're playing significantly less than I am. And then the fourth friend in that group, I guess, I can't remember. I think he might have gotten married. Either way, he was dating his girlfriend for a very long time, so they might have been married now. Either way, he has since kind of lost interest in the game, so we really play very, very occasionally. I think we were actually supposed to play like 2 weekends ago because it was Saturday, everyone was available, and I think I was the only one who ended up playing by myself. But anyways, you aren't here to talk about Age of Empires. Fantastic game that it is. You are here to be productive. And so I'm going to work on my current work in progress. It is the 4th novel in my series. I am in the middle of the final battle. I know I've been saying that for months now. Yeah, I have been saying that for months now. There's no way around that. I feel like the tension graph thing that you use to measure where you are in the plot, like probably 20 to 30% of it will be, the finale or the climax or whatever. So hopefully that plays out well for readers. I am fast approaching the end. I think I'm maybe 10,000 words to the end, probably less. So I'm going to get started on that, and we will see where I can go from there. So right now, the word count is at 771. So we'll see what I can get by the end of it. And I will see you all on the other side of 30 minutes. I'm going to put my headphones in, earphones, whatever. And I will go on mute, and we can all be productive and write. Richard, I keep saying this. You are going to lap me in terms of writing because I feel like we both started our books at around the same time, and I have maybe 70,000 words, and you're at 185,000, if not close enough to that math that the differences between the truth and reality are negligible, or what I just said in reality are negligible. So good luck, and yeah, I will see you all on the other side of 30 minutes. So take care, and let's be productive. And yes, if you don't want to be productive, you can do whatever you like. Although I would not recommend watching the latest Doctor Who. I know, Richard, you've already seen it. But for those of you out there, it is going out with a very disappointing bang. I have 1 episode left. So I I know one of the major spoilers, and I'm going to be very disappointed in it. That being said, I was also disappointed in Andor, but that's a whole other story. Mainly because Andor does not stand on the merits of its own. Like, I can understand why everybody's watching Andor and thinking like, oh, I want to go watch Rogue One, but I will discuss my theories for everything in the interim between the first and second sprint. So I'll see you all in 30 minutes where I can talk about Andor and its disappointing finale. And welcome back, everyone. In the meantime, thank you for joining in. Bethany, hey, how's it going? Awesome. You're writing the epilogue to your rom-com. And yeah, that's really cool. So you're almost done with your book, and then you get to go back in and do all the editing fun things. Katie, hello, hello, hello. And Adrian, thank you for joining in. I know you're Adrian, I know you're working on your own productivity sprints and giving a jump start and kickstart to your Books by Adrian, I guess the next step in your streaming journey. So I wish you all the best in that, and I'll try and join in as frequently as I can. When is your next live show? I know you were talking about things going on last week, but I haven't been able to catch up since then. So let me know when your next show is and post it in those comments. Yeah. I am scared for when I go back and try and edit this fourth novel and turn, I don't know, something into, or transform what it currently is into what I think it could be. And so I was at 771 words. Let's see how productive I was. From 771, I am at, nope, too far. 1210. So 771, 1210, 450 words, give or take. It's not too bad. Yeah, Richard. Good luck with that. I do not envy you the task of editing a monster like that book. Good. That is the most important part, having fun. So sweet. The next edition of the Richard Holiday newsletter is coming out soon. I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to hear about the updates in your life and look at all the pictures of where you've been. It's hard to look at the... True. Yeah, every best-selling author says basically the same thing of the first draft zero, whatever you want to call it, is you getting your thoughts onto the page, getting whatever you want out there, taking the marble, getting a generic shape, and then every editing round after that is shaping it into what the story that you want to tell. Yeah. The first draft is just getting the story down. So the second story is the second, everything after that is just making it the book the actual book they want to tell. The actual story they want to tell. Exactly. Yeah, I am terrible at taking photos. I feel like I might have taken some photos this past month, but not nearly enough. Let's see here. I'm fairly certain that all the photos I have recently are not taken by me and may or may not include me. So let's see what 2025 is looking like. Yeah. The most recent thing I've taken is from Balticon. I think I have a few others, maybe on my phone. So there's that. Yes, we'll go with that, Richard. I like to live in the moment and not take photos. Sure. Oh, right. And so I was talking about Andor. So I can see what other people liked about it. I found a lot of its stories, a lot of its characters to be flawed in ways that I didn't enjoy. So yes, you can have a flawed character. You know, you can have broken characters. You can have characters who go through changes, but the characters in the Andor series I didn't find entertaining. And I do absolutely disagree with my wife on this one. She really thought that the send-off for one of the characters in not quite the penultimate episode was fantastic. It was emotional. But at that point, I didn't care. This is where me and her differ. So I didn't care about that character. So their send-off, I felt like it was just a way to artificially tug at our heartstrings, and it didn't feel like it was earned. So I did not enjoy any of that. There were several comeuppance moments for characters that we did not like, and I was like episodes and episodes before certain characters were given their comeuppance or their resolutions, their stories, which felt like they were, I don't know, cathartic because bad things happen to bad people. I didn't feel like, I don't know, I felt like those moments were wasted because I knew what the story was trying to do and what was going for, but I didn't feel like it actually delivered. So, like, very early on the season, I basically outright said where a certain character would end up. And so I knew, like, once their objectives were met, this specific thing was going to happen. And sure enough, hey, look, that happened. And I didn't really feel anything about being right because it was just I don't know. It felt like a lazy way of writing. And then also one of the characters' rewards was basically just motherhood. And this was one of the things that Adriana and I agreed on, is that she was a walking plot device and incentive for another character. She didn't really have her own arc. And then in the end, she, goes off, has a kid, and that's like, hey, congratulations, she's happy now, even though all this other stuff has happened, even though, like, she was making mistakes in a bad, like, her character arc was on a downward trajectory, and then she just decided to leave everything completely, and it goes a couple of years later, and sure enough, hey, baby, and now happy, or relatively happy compared to it. But that's just the character arcs. The worst thing was that, and I can see why everybody says this is, oh, I watched Andor and, like, now I really want to go rewatch Rogue One. That's because Andor doesn't have a conclusion. Its conclusion, like the last 5 minutes of the show, is just a preview of, hey, here's this specific character and here's what they're doing, so that it's the last 5 minutes was just a montage of different characters, and it was the connective tissue between Andor and Rogue One. So you get flashes of these different characters who have meaning if you know Rogue One, and so it's like, oh, hey, I remember this character. I remember they're important, but I don't remember specific details. And so I want to now watch Rogue One because you're seeing the connective tissue of this specific character and whatnot. So it's the end of Andor was a montage, which was basically just a 30-second preview of Rogue One. So it's just, hey, remember this? Go watch Rogue One. And the merits of a story, the merits of a show should be able to stand alone. I mean, yes, some of my books have kind of cliffhanger endings. And yes, this book that I'm working on right now is intended to kind of be a partner piece to the 5th novel. But because there are moments that will intersect. However, the 4th novel will stand on its own merit, whereas Andor doesn't. Everything, especially in season 2. Season 1 kind of can stand on its own because it's trying to tell a story about the rebellion. And, well, this is going to sound awful. My thoughts on the rebellion in... So if you watch episodes 4, 5, and 6, that rebellion leads off into the EU with the Thrawn trilogy, Heirs of the Empire, and all this, which is fantastic, and it's incredibly well written. Those are dynamic stories, and it's so much fun to read them. And I can't see going from episode 6 to the characters that are Luke, Han, and Leia, because they are completely different. They were on different trajectories, ending in Return of the Jedi to where they pick up in Episode 7, and the New Republic is on a completely different trajectory from the control that they lose, which leads to the First Order. And that's the one thing that Andor has going for it, in that I can see the dysfunctional Republic that they're creating. I can't see that leading into Episode 4, but I can see that Republic with all of its flaws and the fact that they basically are creating just a new corrupt Senate, which is the same thing that led to the Senate during the Empire and the Civil War and all this other stuff. But I can see that version of that rebellion that destroys the Empire. I can see them leading into the failed Republic that ultimately leads to the First Order, and just an utter collapse of government in general in the Star Wars universe. So Andor leads to the bad Republic, that leads to the bad New Republic, that leads to basically falling to the First Order, or nearly falling to the First Order, except for, MacGuffins. Yeah. So I was disappointed in Andor. I think that it makes Star Wars less. But then again, I am hard set on the fantastic writing and storytelling in episodes 4, 5, and 6, and then the EU that came from that. Whereas, yes, I agree. I think that a new sci-fi epic should rise. I think that telling more novels, sure. Write as many books as you want. The EU is fantastic. And I have basically just picked and chosen the books in the EU that I want to read. So I know everything I know about the Wusan Vong are negligible at best, or cliff notes at worst. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I am basically done with all movies and TV of the Star Wars universe, because it just doesn't tell good stories. Hey, Eva. Hey, thanks for joining in. Yes, summer is going well, and I hope. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I hope all of you in the Northeast corridor, or wherever you're living, are handling the heat wave all right. I know there's definitely it's like a heat bubble, spraying from like Atlanta to basically New York in the US, and I can only assume that it's pretty bad all over the world in terms of summer heat. So I hope you're all doing all right. I actually went out for just under an hour walk, and I was such a sweaty mess that I actually had to take a really quick shower before I came on here. So that's the type of summer it is. There was a nice breeze going, so it wasn't that bad of a walk, but just coming back inside, I was dripping in sweat. So yes, there is a lot of fantastic Star Wars stuff. I do eventually want to go back and reread The Young Jedi Knights, because that's one of the series that made me fall in love with reading in general. And yeah, I agree. I'm ready for something new. So I'm reading the Malazan series, which is epic fantasy is probably the best way of putting it. So it's very, very dark. Everybody's going to die in it. You have a lot of, I don't know who I'm rooting for, because everybody kind of seems like they're either evil or serving evil or whatever. And there's just a lot of bodies being thrown into meat grinders. And yes, so that's the good thing about the Star Wars EU, not the new canon or whatever. The EU can pick and choose what you want to read, and so you can read only the best and read the things which enhance the stories 4, 5, and 6. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 undoes a lot. I don't really enjoy the Clone Wars, so I don't really enjoy the Clone Wars. Didn't really enjoy Rebels that much. I watched almost all of it. But I feel like a lot of times they're trying to capture the emotions and the storytelling that better stories told. And it's the same ad nauseum with episode 7, 8, 9, with Ahsoka, with all these other new series. They have blueprints for what worked, and so they're trying to adapt them, but they don't have the skills, the time, or the resources to do it justice. So, I mean, sure, you can watch Andor, but it's not the thing that will save the Star Wars universe, because I don't think it is of a great enough caliber. And all it really does, it acts as a preview, not a preview. It's the Marvel post-credit scene that's leading into Rogue One. So it doesn't really have enough substance on its own to justify existing. And so all it really is just kind of a preview. Hey, remember Rogue One, that really popular movie that everybody, like one of the few new Star Wars movies that people liked? Well, you should go back and rewatch it. And I don't have an interest in rewatching Rogue One. I mean, I know that it's got a really cool final moment, and that's what everybody really remembers. But I remember being kind of only mildly entertained throughout watching it. And, you know, much like John dies at the end, you kind of know what you're getting into, because none of these characters have relevance in the Rebel Alliance as of episode 4. So, there's it. And of course, none of these shows mention anything about Bothan spies, even though many Bothan spies died to get them the Death Star plans. So, yes, there is a lot of canon with Star Wars, but there's no point to having canon if canon just gets ignored or picked and or when writers pick and choose. Sorry, when not writers, the authors, the book authors are fantastic, and they do a great job of trying to integrate their stories and tell a cohesive universe encompassing tale that is epic science fiction. However, the TV shows and the movies, like Dave Filoni has said, from one side of his mouth, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to respect canon. We're going to do all this and the other." And then, sure, we can ignore the EU, but now we have an absolute canon that's set based on these priorities and whatnot. And then he just goes and kind of breaks his own rules. And when canon doesn't matter, when what came before things no longer matter, then none of it matters. And you don't need to watch Rebels because Ahsoka kind of spits on its grave. And the Clone Wars has the Clone Wars, the animated series, 3D the cartoon Clone Wars were fantastic, but the 3D animated series is hit or miss based on episodes. And I do what I can to ensure that there is a cohesive story going from book 1 to 2 to 3, because 2 doesn't happen without 1, 3 doesn't happen without 2 and 1, and 4 doesn't happen without everything that happened before it. And sure, I'm willing to bet that I made mistakes along the way, and at some point somebody will go through with a fine-tooth comb or a magnifying glass and tell me, this character's hair is blonde now when it was originally brunette, and this character had some specific backstory moment, or they had some specific quirk that they no longer do, or that it runs counter in book 4 to what happened in book 1. And so yeah, I mean, I try and work through those things the best they can, but the difference is that I'm writing my series out of passion, and it's not a $1 billion series. It's not a $1 billion effort. Yep, Adrian, that is an interesting. I know that's what, like the machete order, I think is what it's usually called, or that's close to the machete order. I would actually skip episodes 1, 2, and 3, although since Eloise brought it up, Eloise isn't here right now, but she did bring up. She sent these to me, so it's Oh boy. Oh, episode 1 should have been written. I think this is it. Hopefully. Sorry. Oh, no, this is definitely not it. Well, I am going to prep. I've talked too long, so I'm just going to stall for a little bit longer, and that way I'll only do a one more 20-minute sprint. And so in the meantime, I'm going to find the video that Eloise shared with me. So it's episode 1. Because it rewrites episode 1 so that it actually tells a good story. And they make a couple of very key changes, namely that episode 1. Namely that Naboo takes place on Alderaan, so that way we get a stronger tie to everything that is going on, as opposed to Naboo, which is just some random planet that we don't care about. So that's that. I feel like I've shared this before. It's on Belated Media, and he does a wonderful job of shifting the focus away from the Skywalkers, which we have way too much Skywalker across. I mean, episodes 1 through 9 is just how badly can one family screw up the universe, pretty much. And so episodes 4, 5, and 6 follow Luke Skywalker. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 should have followed Obi-Wan Kenobi, and yes, tangentially Anakin Skywalker, but it's more Obi-Wan Kenobi's failure. And then episodes 4, 5, and 6 are, Luke Skywalker and then Han and Leia and whatnot. And so if you shift the focus to Obi-Wan, then it's much more tragic, it's much more story-driven, it's much more entertaining. And then you can have these different generational trilogies, whereas what we get right now is just way too much Skywalker, to the point where one of the last lines of the movie is somebody who hopefully will never get her own movie, Rey Palpatine becoming Rey Skywalker. Sorry, spoilers. That's just atrocious writing. I mean, episode 9 was an abomination of everything that a writer should care about. It doesn't tell a cohesive story. There are multiple MacGuffins which have no reason to be in there, short of the fact that they didn't have a way to tie details together or give characters motivation or explain how and where they should be at the specific points. And yes, I understand that there were timing issues and they had already kind of started filming certain places, so they just had these sets that they need to explain and just justify their existence. But that was another movie that really should have just been put back in the oven and let, bake for another year. And that way it comes out and it's actually ready and it's not just a pile of uncooked cookie dough goop. Yeah. And yeah, Miss Blogger, hey, thanks for joining in. I'm sorry that I'm distracting everyone with my thoughts on Andor and Star Wars in general. Now that I finished Andor, now that I have sworn off all Star Wars, at least in television and movies, I promise to try not to go back to this dried up well of how awful Star Wars has become. That being said, when I go back and reread some of the amazing stories in the EU, which is the legacy EU, I will happily praise them. And I will forever praise, who is it? Trevor? I'm Mr. Anderson. There we go. Well, I'll just say Mr. Anderson because I can't remember him. The Jedi Search trilogy, which was a follow-up to the Heirs of the Empire trilogy, those were incredibly fantastic. They were well-written stories, and they exercised the right amount of nostalgia, put in like breadcrumbs in just the most perfect places. And yeah, to what degree do we blame Disney? I mean, yeah, that's absolutely fair. Disney is a money-making machine, and so it does what it can to try and make a profit. And it posted when the Star Wars movies will be coming out. And so there were no flexibility. So when there wasn't a story worth telling, they still went ahead with production. And so, yes, I would argue that, sure, we can blame Disney, but oh, of course, I'm not saying that the original trilogy is flawless. I am saying that it is fantastically written, that the issues it has are negligible, and I will still say that Empire Strikes Back is one of the best movies ever made. So, yes, it is flawed, but it's flawed in a way that still tells compelling stories. Whereas I left 1, 2, and 3 feeling disappointed, and I left 7, 8, and 9 just feeling outright insulted. Well, it is in fact a money-making machine because I, in fact, have Disney stock, and I can tell you that it is only on the rise. I mean, I have like 10 things of Disney stock, so it's not, I'm not retiring thanks to that. But let's just, okay, fine. This is the last thing I'll look up, the last distraction I'll take, and yeah. So the moral of the story is that I should have taken a payout. I should have sold my stocks in 2021 because Disney could only go down from there. However, the 5-year stocks have technically gone up. So 5 years ago, they were at 109. Right now, they are at 117, and they hit an all-time high of 197 when the sky was the limit for what Disney streaming could do. And when people realize that they have failed to deliver, when the content gets progressively worse, they hit an all-time low in April 4th of $83. But yes, Disney will always make money. Disney will always be profitable, assuming you don't buy now. The degree to which it is profitable is going to be up for debate. The fact that it has sold its soul is also not really arguable at this point. It is just a money-making machine, and yes, I'm easily distracted. It's not ADHD. It's me wanting to procrastinate because I don't feel like writing right now. Yes. Oh man, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but there are so many. Oh yeah, I mean, you could even look at episode 4 where you have a stormtrooper just bonks his head because the actual actors couldn't see anything in those helmets, and naturally he just bonked his head when he was. It's the scene where the stormtroopers are coming in and they go down the garbage chute. You can watch a stormtrooper bonk his head. So yes, I do not actually have ADHD. I do, however, procrastinate. But with that in mind, I'm done procrastinating. I'm going to be productive. I promise you right now. 20 minutes are on the clock. I will see you all at the end of it, and then I can do a closeout while I get dinner. Because taco night. Not quite Taco Tuesday. Let's get that started up. And welcome back, everyone. Oh, that was really productive. I have organized my chapter and I am bringing it in for a landing, which is awesome. So I think I'm going to push back one of the heartfelt moments to the next chapter, but I think I'm going to bring in a significant issue. So, what are my totals? Let's see. I started off with 771, then jumped up to 1240, and now I'm at 1600. Wow. Yeah. That math is mathing. So 850 words, more or less. That's awesome. So I wrote 850 words over 2 sprint sessions. Way to go, way to go, way to go. And Adrian is working on his query letter, so good luck with that. I hope you the best. I'm trying to remember. I think you were talking about querying book number 2 and then trying to work back with book number 1, or is it that you are trying to query book number 1 with the added dessert of book number 2 coming? Don't remember. I'm sure I will ask later and you can let us know, or we can pay attention to your streams and we can find out. Richard, as always, thank you for being here. I am, in fact, a sneaky fox. I managed to get in 850 words. Congratulations on getting 185,000 words. That is awesome. That is, well, yeah, I'll say it. That's the first and second novel. So you have written 2 Ben picks. Yeah. And I will see you all next Monday night at 6 p.m. Although I think I will be scheduling a second running to write productivity sprint next week, so that way we can all celebrate on July 4th, or I think July 3rd, because that's that Friday. So with that in mind, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful Monday night. I wish you all as fulfilling a weekend as I just had, and I hope your days at work are not as stressful as mine was this week. Bear in mind that next week, I'm sure I'll just be dragging my feet because something will have exploded. And yeah, Richard, a week from Friday is our Independence Day. And yes, that would make you the baddies in that scenario. So anyways, I will see you all next week. I'm just kidding, Richard. You guys aren't really that bad, but it is funny how many Independence Days are brought about thanks to the British Empire. Just want to leave that one over there. No. Richard, you're an awesome man. And I really do hope that you are able to finish your Legacy of Iron story, because I'm excited to read your take on epic fantasies. Can we rejoin? Oh boy. No comment. So with that in mind, I will see you all on next Monday, and I will likely see you as well that Friday following. So you'll likely be getting 2 episodes of Rain to Write next week. I will see you there, and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thanks for being productive with me tonight as we wrote together, or just being productive in general, or just dicking around in general and commenting on the failures of modern Star Wars, as we do here. Have a wonderful night. I'll see you next week.